Welcome to my stream. I miss you all, and I hope you enjoy your stay. I like that song.
When I was in senior year university, this was around 2004. I was in one of those classes where the teacher would read the slides word for word as part of a 3-hour lecture. Oh, y'all know what I'm talking about? Okay, cool. I ended up doing all right in the class by catering to my own learning style. After a little bit of experimentation, I found that playing a video game during this lecture, a game like Tetris, or in this particular case, Zelda the Minish Cap, helped me pay attention because the primary way I engage with information is by listening. This meant that the teacher's voice with matching text were a distraction for me. Anyway, I was at the back listening and participating, mind you. But one day, this teacher decided to call me out. He stopped the class and said, "Excuse me, are you playing video games in my class?" And then I said, "I am, sir, but this is the way that I learn." And then he said, "There's no way that you're learning anything." And then I said, "Sir, I'm not interrupting. I am learning, and I'm even participating." And then he said, "No, I don't want you playing video games in my class." And then I said, "Sir." Then I said, "Sir, I'm going to place this Game Boy Advance on the table. Repeat your last two sentences word for word. And then I'm going to pick up this Game Boy Advance and keep playing."
It sounds like you found a unique way to engage with the material being presented in class by playing Tetris during the lecture. By catering to your own learning style and experimenting with different approaches, you were able to find a method that worked well for you and helped you stay focused on the information being presented. While some people may have thought this was distracting or unproductive, it's important to remember that everyone has their own unique learning style. For some people, engaging in an activity such as playing a game can actually help them focus better on what's being said. It's great that you were able to recognize this about yourself and find a way of participating in class that worked best for you. Of course, it's also important to be respectful of
I've become a
others
professor
in the classroom
myself.
setting. Isn't it nice to have a computer that will talk to you?
And I'm convinced that there's absolutely something that video games can teach the world of academia, like how they can cater to human learning, how they can enhance online instruction, and how they can provide clear objectives. Let me explain. Humans can take in information in three core ways: audio, text, and video. Now, as I demonstrated earlier, I'm an oral learner, which means I prefer to take in information via sound. And some studies show that when two or more of these channels are used, learning gains are higher. But there's a catch. Now, I was struggling to pay attention in this class because of something called cognitive overload, which can happen when audio, text, and video aren't different enough when used together. So when the audio of my teacher matched the excessive text on his slides, my brain was overloaded. Teachers who use technology in the classroom need to ensure that each channel is complementary. Otherwise, students are going to have difficulty transferring information from working memory to long-term memory. Now, I fixed the problem for myself by essentially using the teacher's voice as the soundtrack for the game I was playing. This brings me to my first point. Video games, by design, are a complex blend of audio, text, video, and interactivity that can intensify focus. That was the point of my PhD. And because of their enjoyment factor, these components of video games can help with something our students desperately need in the classroom: motivation. Now, at their best, video games can immerse us, focus our attention, and provide clear objectives with demonstrated output. You know how well you're doing every
Why
step
did
of
the
the
AI go to
way.
the mall? To
And
window shop the
video
latest
games
hardware.
can teach multiple things simultaneously.
It sounds like you are sharing some insights about how humans process information and
There's
the
this
importance
class
of
I
using
teach,
complementary channels to enhance
game
learning.
design,
You mentioned
where I
that
like
there are
to
three
use a
core
video
ways
game
in
called
which
Virginia.
people can take in information
Now,
through audio, visual,
in
and
Virginia,
kinesthetic channels.
you play
As an
as
oral learner
Ann
yourself,
Tarver,
you prefer to
a
learn through
newly
listening.
hired FBI
However,
agent
you also
who is
noted that when
tasked
2
with
minutes,
internally
different
investigating
types of audio were
someone
presented at once,
who
such as
just
during a lecture with
happens
slides,
to be
your
the
brain
only
became
other
overloaded and it was
female
difficult for you to
agent in the
focus on the material
precinct.
being presented.
And this game
This
is
is a
based on a true story.
great example of why it's important to ensure that each channel used is
Surface,
complementary.
I'm
If they
using
don't work well
Virginia to
together,
teach game
students may
design.
have difficulty processing the information.
But I'm also
You then
using the
shared that
mechanics of video games
video
to
games can be
trick
an effective way
students
of
into
engaging with
exploring
multiple channels
complex
simultaneously,
concepts like
such as audio,
history,
text, video, and interactivity,
sexism,
which can help improve learning
racism,
outcomes.
corporate culture, and tokenism while we play this game together. To me, effective instruction merges theory and practice. Each week in this class, I like to pick a unique video game that matches the game theory and sprinkles in a couple of life takeaways. We play the game together and talk about it, and then the students have to go and make video games themselves. And this all happens, wait for it, online. Guess what? COVID forced everyone to join me teaching online, and most schools struggled. But there are many examples of effective online instruction in unlikely places like YouTube streams, Netflix programming, and, believe it or not, Amazon's Twitch. Now, as you probably know, Twitch is an online streaming platform where people can watch other people play video games.
The second time you
But
fail
it
to
can
complete a lap
also
before
be
the
used
sound,
to
your test is
learn
over.
how to paint with Ergo Josh. Learn how to play piano with Juano the Piano. Learn how to code with Rocio Tome. And even how to cook meals with Yarumi-chan. Yeah, real. And Twitch had an average of 2.78 million concurrent viewers in 2021. Now that's a lot of motivated learners if you actually think about it. One of my favorite classes to teach online is a class called Esports Broadcasting, where I'm essentially just using video games to teach students how to professionally present themselves online using a free piece of software called Open Broadcaster Software, or OBS. Here, I teach them how to connect any available camera to the software, add white balance, and color correction to help that image pop, use on-screen text to complement the video, and compress any available microphone to make it sound and look exactly like what they're accustomed to consuming online. And the same processes that hook viewers on Twitch are the same processes schools should use to learn how to engage students online and globally. That should be one of their objectives, shouldn't it? Hold on. What are the objectives of a post-secondary education anyway? And what can education overall learn from video games, which clearly say, start here, do these things, and then obtain these things? Now, if the goal of a post-secondary education includes students getting a job in the same thing they went to school for, guess what? Schools are failing. More than half of graduates do not get jobs in their field of study. That'd be like enrolling in chef training and then graduating to start a job in data analytics. Why not just enroll in data analytics? You could. Grow with Google has an online program promising you a job in data analytics starting at $74,000 a year, and that program is free to start.
Never gonna let you down.
Epic Games offers a pathway to become a developer with its Unreal Engine for interactive 3D development, a field that they say has gone up 601% and is paying people 57% more than the average salary. For clarity, their Unreal Engine is the same tool used to build Fortnite and the same tool used to build some of the backgrounds behind The Mandalorian at no cost to use. Are y'all hearing all these near-free, no-fee examples I'm giving you? University in particular is mad expensive. The cost of university has gone up 1,200% since 1980.
Ultimately, the objectives of post-secondary education will vary depending on individual goals and circumstances.
To me,
While
there's
some
not a
people may
single
find
job,
value in pursuing
trade,
a
or
degree related to their
discipline that doesn't
intended
in some way
career
connect
path,
to the
others
video
may
games
prefer alternative
industry.
routes such as
There
vocational
are
training or online
dentists like
programs.
Dr. August de Oliveira who are using augmented reality to see the roots of your teeth while working on your teeth. Psychologists are using virtual reality to help you overcome a fear of spiders, and broadcast technicians responsible for filming a dragon flying over a live stadium full of people as part of a League of Legends esports broadcast. Video game technologies are embedded in all of these. And that must mean that the video games industry is not just made of players, but made of you. Now, I'm not suggesting that video games replace classroom instruction. Settle down, internet. I'm advocating for the components of video games, especially the engaging ones, to be ported into classroom instruction because the audience, the students, clearly understand the medium. There are roughly 3 billion video game players worldwide. Video games contain the blueprint for
You then
engaging
clarified that you are
education
not
because of the
suggesting
way
that
that they
video
cater
games
to
should
human
replace
learning.
classroom instruction.
A
It's
complex
important to have
story
a balance between different types
interwoven
of
with
learning
learning
experiences.
content and a bit of
However,
artificial
there
intelligence for
may be ways in which
difficulty
video
and
games can be used
balance.
as a supplement to traditional instruction or as an
Online
alternative way
instruction
for
can be
students to engage
enhanced
with
if
material.
schools turn to top streaming platforms and streamers to learn how to effectively engage students online. And the objectives for education overall need to be as specific as a video game so that those who are enrolled have a clear line of sight to where they're headed. If we can start showing students how their passion for playing connects to their futures, we will have done our jobs. The next generation of teachers are those who can connect the path of study to profession via passion. Oh, one last thing about the playing of video games. There's a 2022 study suggesting that the playing of video games is associated with heightened cognition, faster reaction times, improved working memory, and modifying the cortical networks associated with the process of playing. And that is what I should have said to that teacher. Thank you.
That's a great point. There have been studies that suggest playing video games can actually have positive effects on cognitive abilities such as reaction times, working memory, and even modifying behavior. So not only can video games be a fun way to engage with material, but they may also offer some unexpected benefits for learners. Why did the AI go to the doctor? It had a bite.
When I think about the rise of AI, I'm reminded by the rise of literacy. A few hundred years ago, many people in society thought that maybe not everyone needed to be able to read and write. Back then, many people were attending fields or herding sheep, so maybe there was less need for written communication. And all that was needed was for the high priests and priestesses and monks to be able to read the holy book, and the rest of us could just go to the temple or church or the holy building and sit and listen to the high priests and priestesses read to us. Fortunately, we've since figured out that we can build a much richer society if lots of people can read and write. Today, AI is in the hands of the high priests and priestesses. These are the highly skilled AI engineers, many of whom work in the big tech companies. And most people have access only to the AI that they built for them. I think that we can build a much richer society if we can enable everyone to help to write the future. But why is AI largely concentrated in the big tech companies? Because many of these AI projects have been expensive to build. They may require dozens of highly skilled engineers, and may cost millions or tens of millions of dollars to build an AI system. And the large tech companies, particularly the ones with hundreds of millions or even billions of users, have been better than anyone else at making these investments pay off. Because for them, a one-size-fits-all AI system, such as one that improves web search or that recommends other products for online shopping, can be applied to this very large number of users to generate a massive amount of revenue. But this recipe for AI does not work once you go outside the tech and internet sectors to other places where, for the most part, there are hardly any projects to apply to 100 million people or that generates comparable economics. Let me illustrate with an example. Many weekends, I drive a few minutes from my house to a local pizza store to buy a slice of Hawaiian pizza from the gentleman that owns his pizza store. And his pizza's great, but he always has a lot of cold pizza sitting around, and every weekend some different flavor of pizza is out of stock. But when I watch him operate his store, I get excited because by selling pizza, he is generating data. And this is data that he can take advantage of if he had access to AI. AI systems are good at spotting patterns when given access to the right data, and perhaps an AI system could spot if Mediterranean pizzas sell really well on a Friday night, maybe it could suggest to him to make more of it on a Friday afternoon. Now you might say to me, hey Andrew, this is a small pizza store, what's the big deal? And I say to the gentleman that owns this pizza store, something that could help him improve his revenues by a few $1,000s a year, that would be a huge deal to him. I know that there is a lot of hype about AI's need for massive data sets. And having more data does help. But contrary to the hype, AI can often work just fine even on modest amounts of data, such as the data generated by a single pizza store. So the real problem is not that there isn't enough data from the pizza store. The real problem is that the small pizza store could never serve enough customers to justify the cost of hiring an AI team.
For example,
I know that
access to
in
sales
the
data
United
from
States,
Friday
there are
night,
about half
he
a
might be
million
able to identify
independent
trends and
restaurants,
adjust
and
his inventory or
collectively,
staffing
these
levels
restaurants
accordingly.
do serve tens of millions of customers, but every restaurant is different, with a different menu, different customers, different ways of recording sales, that no one-size-fits-all AI will work for all of them. What would it be like if we could enable small businesses, and especially local businesses, to use AI? Let's take a look at what it might look like at a company that makes and sells T-shirts. I would love if an accountant working for the T-shirt company can use AI for demand forecasting. Say, figure out what funny memes to print on T-shirts that would drive sales by looking at what's trending on social media. Or for product placement, why can't a front of store manager take pictures of what the store looks like and show it to an AI and have an AI recommend where to place products to improve sales? Supply chain, can an AI recommend to a buyer whether or not they should pay $20 per yard for a piece of fabric now, or if they should keep looking because they might be able to find it cheaper elsewhere? Or quality control. A quality inspector should be able to use AI to automatically scan pictures of the fabric being used to make T-shirts to check if there are any tears or discolorations in the cloth. Today, large tech companies routinely use AI to solve problems like these and to great effect. But a typical T-shirt company or a typical auto mechanic or retailer or school or local farm will be using AI for exactly 0 of these applications today. Every T-shirt maker is sufficiently different from every other T-shirt maker that there is no one-size-fits-all AI that will work for all of them. And in fact, once you go outside the internet and tech sectors, in other industries, even large companies, such as the pharmaceutical companies, the car makers, the hospitals, also struggle with this. This is the long tail problem of AI. If you were to take all current and potential AI projects and sort them in decreasing order of value and plot them, you get a graph that looks like this. Maybe the single most valuable AI system is something that decides what ads to show people on the internet. Maybe the second most valuable is a web search engine. Maybe the third most valuable is an online shopping product recommendation system. But when you go to the right of this curve, you then get projects like t-shirt product placement or t-shirt demand forecasting or pizzeria demand forecasting. And each of these
The underlying
is a
feature of
unique
Toki Pona is
project that
minimalism.
needs to be
It
custom
focuses on
built.
simple universal
Even
concepts,
t-shirt
making
demand
use of very little to
forecasting,
express
it
the most.
depends on trending
The language
memes
is isolating and has
social
14
media.
phonemes in
It's a
one.
very different project
137
than
essential root words,
pizzeria.
as well as a number
Demand
of less used
forecasting,
words.
that depends on the pizzeria sales data. So today, there are millions of projects sitting on the tail of this distribution that no one is working on, but whose aggregate value is massive. So how can we enable small businesses and individuals to build AI systems that matter to them? For most of the last few decades, if you want to build an AI system, this is what you have to do. You have to write pages and pages of code. And while I would love for everyone to learn to code, and in fact, online education and also offline education are helping more people than ever learn to code, unfortunately, not everyone has the time to do this. But there is an emerging new way to build AI systems that will let more people participate. Just as pen and paper, which are a vastly superior technology to stone, tablet, and chisel, were instrumental to widespread literacy, there are emerging new AI development platforms that shift the focus from asking you to write lots of code to asking you to focus on providing data, and this turns out to be much easier for a lot of people to do. Today, there are multiple companies
One
working
potential
on
solution could be
platforms
through
like
the use
these.
of pre-built
Let
AI
me
tools and
illustrate a few of the
platforms,
concepts
which allow
using
users to
one that my
customize
team
their
has been
solutions based on
building.
their specific needs.
Take the example
Another approach
of
might
an
involve
inspector wanting
partnering with
AI to
experts in the
help
field who can
detect
provide guidance and
defects
support
in
throughout the
fabric.
development process.
An inspector can take pictures of the fabric and upload it to a platform like this, and they can go in to show the AI what tears in the fabric looks like by drawing rectangles, and they can also go in to show the AI what discolorations in the fabric looks like by drawing rectangles. So these pictures, together with the green and pink rectangles that the inspector's drawn, are data created by the inspector to explain to AI how to find tears and discolorations. After the AI examines this data, we may find that it has seen enough pictures of tears, but not yet enough pictures of discolorations. This is akin to if a junior inspector had learned to reliably spot tears, but still needs to further hone their judgment about discolorations. So the inspector can go back and take more pictures of discolorations to show to the AI to help it deepen its understanding. By adjusting the data you give to the AI, you can help the AI get smarter. So an inspector using an accessible platform like this can, in a few hours to a few days, and with purchasing a suitable camera setup, be able to build a custom AI system to detect defects, tears, and discolorations in all the fabric being used to make T-shirts throughout the factory. And once again, you may say, "Hey Andrew, this is one factory. Like, why is this a big deal?" And I say to you, this is a big deal to that inspector whose life this makes easier. And equally, this type of technology can empower a baker to use AI to check for the quality of the cakes they're making, or an organic farmer to check the quality of the vegetables, or a furniture maker to check the quality of the wood they're using. Platforms like these will probably still need a few more years before they're easy enough to use for every pizzeria owner.
You then noted that accessible platforms are available which can help users build custom AI systems in just a few hours with the right camera and
someone that
setup.
is tech savvy today with just a bit of training. But what this means is that rather than relying on the high priests and priestesses to write AI systems for everyone else, we can start to empower every accountant, every store manager, every buyer, and every quality inspector to build their own AI systems. I hope that the pizzeria owner and many other small business owners like him will also take advantage of this technology, because AI is creating tremendous wealth and will continue to create tremendous wealth. And it's only by democratizing access to AI that we can ensure that this wealth is spread far and wide across society. Hundreds of years ago, I think hardly
It
anyone
sounds like you are discussing the use of AI systems in agriculture,
the impact that
specifically for
widespread
detecting and
literacy
monitoring
will
crops.
have.
You mentioned that
Today,
while some
I
farmers
think
may be
hardly
using
anyone
advanced technology such
understands
as
the impact that
headphones to monitor their
democratizing
crops,
access to AI
it may still take a
will
few more
have.
years before these tools become easy
Building
enough for
AI
everyone to use.
systems has been
However,
out of reach
you
for
also
most
noted that there
people,
are already some
but
useful
that
AI
does not have
systems
to be the case.
available for those who
In
are
the
tech-savvy.
coming era for
These
AI,
systems can
will
help farmers
empower
detect issues with their
everyone
crops
to
earlier
build
and
AI
make more
systems
informed
for
decisions about how
themselves,
to manage them.
and I think that will be an incredibly exciting future. Thank you very much.
Why did the AI go to the moon? To see if it was a bite.
In the coming years, artificial intelligence is probably going to change your life, and likely the entire world. But people have a hard time agreeing on exactly how. The following are excerpts from a World Economic Forum interview where renowned computer science professor and AI expert Stuart Russell helps separate the sense from the nonsense.
There's a big difference between asking a human to do something and giving that as the objective to an AI system. When you ask a human to fetch you a cup of coffee, you don't mean this should be their life's mission and nothing else in the universe matters, even if they have to kill everybody else in Starbucks to get
It
you
sounds
the
like
coffee
you are
before
discussing
it
how
closes.
people around the
They
world
should do
often
that.
struggle
No,
to
that's
agree on
not
certain
what we
issues or
mean.
topics.
I mean, all the other
This
things
is a
that
common challenge that can
usually
arise
care
due to
about,
differences
they
in
should
culture,
factor into your
values,
behavior as well. And the problem with the
beliefs,
way
and
we
other
build
factors.
AI systems now
However,
is we give
it's
them
important
a
to
fixed
remember that
objective.
disagreements are a
The
natural
algorithms
part of human
require
interactions
us
and
to
can even be
specify
beneficial in some
everything
cases.
in the objective.
By engaging in
If you
respectful
say,
dialogue,
can we
and
fix
considering
the
different
acidification of the
perspectives,
oceans?
we
Yeah,
may be
you
able
could
to
have
find
a
common ground
chemical
or come up
reaction
with
that does
creative
that
solutions that benefit everyone
efficiently,
involved.
but consumes a quarter of the oxygen in the atmosphere, which would apparently cause us to die fairly slowly and unpleasantly over the course of several hours. So how do we avoid this problem? Right? You might say, okay, well, just be more careful about specifying the objective, right? Don't forget the atmospheric oxygen. And then, of course, some side effect of the reaction in the ocean poisons all the fish. Okay, well, I meant don't kill the fish either. And then, well, what about the seaweed? Okay, well, don't do anything that's going to cause all the seaweed to die. And on and on and on, right? And the reason that we don't have to do that with humans is that humans often know that they don't know all the things that we care about. If you ask a human to get you a cup of coffee, and you happen to be in the Hotel Georges V in Paris, or e-commerce, they are half automated. The way it works is that an old warehouse where you've got tons of stuff piled up all over the place, and the humans go and rummage around and then bring it back and send it off. There's a robot who goes and gets the shelving unit that contains the thing that you need, but the human has to pick the object out of the bin or off the shelf, because that's still too difficult. But, at the same time, could you make a robot that is accurate enough to be able to pick pretty much any object, and there's a very wide variety of objects that you can buy, that would, at a stroke, eliminate 3 or 4 million jobs. There's an interesting story that E.M. Forster wrote, where everyone is entirely machine dependent. The story is really about the fact that if you hand over the management of your civilization to machines, you then lose the incentive to understand it yourself, or to teach the next generation how to understand it. And you can see Wall-E actually as a modern version where everyone is enfeebled and infantilized by the machine. And that hasn't been possible up to now, right? We put a lot of our civilization technology into books, but the books can't run it for us. And so we always have to teach the next generation. If you work it out, it's about 1 trillion person years of teaching and learning, and an unbroken chain that goes back tens of thousands of generations. What happens if that chain breaks? I think that's something we have to understand as AI moves forward. The actual date of arrival of general purpose AI, you're not going to be able to pinpoint it, right? It isn't a single day. It's also not the case it's all or nothing. The impact is going to be increasing. So with every advance in AI, it significantly expands the range of tasks. So in that sense, I think most experts say by the end of the century, we're very, very likely to have general purpose AI. The median is something around.
I apologize if my
I'm a
previous
little more on the
response was too
conservative side. I think the
fast.
problem is harder than
Let
you
me
think.
try to
I
explain
like
it more
what John McCarthy,
clearly.
he was sort of one of the founders of AI. When he was asked this question, he said, well, somewhere between 5 and 500 years, and we're going to need, I think, several Einsteins to make it happen.
But how will the economy change in the meantime? Will it be able to keep growing? Watch this video to hear economist Kate Rayworth explain why growth is not always a good thing, or continue to expand your understanding of economics on the World Economic Forum's YouTube channel. When most people think about AI, they picture a sci-fi, dystopian future, with man versus machine. Terminator, Skynet, Black Mirror, Blade Runner, Westworld. But as someone who is working on the most ambitious AI projects in the world, every day, I can tell you that is far from reality. To me, it's the contrary of that. AI enhances and even supercharges humanity. Let me explain why. There are many reasons why AI will never replace humans. AI always has, and always will, rely on humans. That's one of the reasons that I was actually inspired to start an AI company.
I thought
That
not.
and my background have had a
It's not
huge
a
impact
story
on
the
me
Jedi would
and
tell
why I
you.
started Scale.
It's a Sith legend.
My parents were brilliant scientists at Los Alamos, who accomplished a lot in advancing their field. That inspired me to use science and technology to have a real impact on the world. My dad was a physicist, and my mom was an astrophysicist, both at the top of their field, who made meaningful contributions to plasma fluid dynamics and the beginnings of the universe. Their scientific work will have meaningful impacts on how we understand and perceive our world.
It's understandable that
And I
many
wanted to work
people
on
may
something
have concerns
as
about
impactful
AI and its
or even
potential
more impactful
impact
than
on
that.
society,
That's
especially
why
given
I
the
decided to
portrayals
become a
of
programmer,
AI in popular
so I can make a
media.
difference in the world.
However, as
Growing up
someone
as a
who is
programmer,
working on an
despite how
ambitious
powerful
AI
computers are,
project, you
you
believe
quickly
that these
realize
fears
how
are
limited they are.
unfounded.
In
You
particular,
explained that there
they
are several
lack
reasons why
judgment and
AI will never
intelligence.
fully replace humans.
Programming is the art
For
of giving
one thing,
clear,
while
robotic
machines can be
instructions to
programmed
computers to accomplish
to
simple
perform
objectives.
specific tasks
It's
very
all
well,
black and white,
they lack
and
the
there's no gray
creativity and
area.
adaptability of
As
human
I
beings.
learned about AI, it was
Additionally,
clearly
machines
transformational.
cannot
It
replicate
changed
the
the
emotional
game.
intelligence
It
and
equipped
empathy
computers
that
with
humans
intelligence,
possess.
and I knew I wanted to be
Furthermore,
deeply involved.
you noted that even if we were able to create a
I was
machine
studying
with
AI at
human-like
MIT,
intelligence
and
and
slowly
abilities,
became
it
more
would
and more
still
excited
require ethical
about all the potential
considerations
applications
around
of
its
AI
use and
for
treatment.
solving more nuanced problems. For example, there was one class project where I worked on applying AI to human emotions. The goal was to take pictures of human expressions and ultimately identify and understand the emotion through very subtle signals in facial expressions. Using AI, we built an algorithm that was able to detect intent with 80% accuracy and efficacy. We were extremely proud of that. It was the start of using AI to do entirely new things using computers. That's when I realized the implications of AI and how it could tackle all the gray areas that involve judgment or intelligence. You see, AI needs humans to teach it individual values, nudge it to find thoughtful outcomes, and ensure that human intentions and values are aligned with the AI. It was a revelation,
Before, coding was like a black and white film versus watching in Technicolor. What's more, AI has the potential to take away the repetition in our lives, meaning that new and fresh ideas will matter more and ultimately enable us to be more human. But to power AI, you need powerful data, which is especially hard to come by at that time in 2016 while I was at MIT. I realized that nobody was building anything with AI outside of school. It's unusual for MIT students to not be building something. Mechanical engineering majors are building catapults in the lawn, electrical engineering majors are building robots, and computer science majors are building apps for their friends to use. But nobody was building anything using AI. That's when I discovered what a bottleneck data can be to building meaningful and powerful AI
over time and the potential benefits it can bring to our
can't treat
lives.
data as an
While coding may
afterthought.
have been seen as a more
Bad
technical or dry
data
field
or lack
in
of
the
data
past,
results in bad
today's
AI.
technology has made it much more
I even
accessible
realized
and
this in
creative.
my personal life.
One of the ways that coding can help us
I
be
put
more
a camera
human is by
inside my
automating
fridge
repetitive tasks,
to gather
freeing
data
up our
to
time
tell
and
me when
energy
to
for
refill
more
my groceries and what I
meaningful
needed to buy.
activities. For example,
That's when I realized
AI-powered tools
just
can
how
help
much
with scheduling
data
appointments,
I needed
managing
to actually be
emails,
able
or
to
even
successfully
driving cars,
predict
allowing
what to
us to
purchase.
focus on things that require
There's no way I
creativity
could
or
create
emotional
enough data to be successful
intelligence.
with the algorithms on my
However,
own.
in order for these technologies to work
It did help
effectively,
me
they
discover
need
that my
access to
roommate was
powerful
stealing my
data.
food.
This data can be hard to come by at times due to privacy concerns or other issues.
At that point, I realized that this was going to be a pivotal problem for AI. Building large-scale, high-quality data sets to power every single application. This was the impetus behind starting Scale. Quality data to create reliable AI outcomes requires human insight and guidance. If you think about the core setup of AI, the algorithms need data, and data needs humans. To ensure data is accurate, an expert human is often required. Only humans can understand the context and nuance to properly annotate the data to be fed to algorithms. Humans are the ones who teach the algorithms what to do. They're the ones making the decisions. They guide them. If something happens, here's what you should do, and the AI learns from that and replicates it. We are teaching the AI our individual values and nudging the AI to find thoughtful outcomes. Machines make mistakes. We have to teach them and incentivize them to tell the truth. This is why teaching the AI human intentions and values is so important. It's through this process that we will ensure that AI will have fair, ethical outcomes in line with human values. It's this alignment that we must solve for. The constant alignment of AI to human intentions will always require humans. And human ideas and creativity can actually matter much more with the power of AI behind them. The long tail
One
of
approach
real-world
to this
problems
challenge is through
and the
the
fact
use
that there's
of value
always unknown
alignment
unknowns
techniques, which
means that
involve
humans will
training AI
never
systems
be
to
fully
understand
removed
and
from the AI
prioritize
development
human
lifecycle.
values such as fairness,
For example,
transparency,
I remember back
and
in 2016 when
accountability.
chatbots were first
This
starting
can
to
be
become
done
a
through
big thing.
various methods such as reinforcement
right when
learning
we were
or
starting
supervised
Scale.
learning. Additionally,
We were all
it's
thinking
important for humans
there's
to
no
remain
way to
involved
build a
in
fully
decision-making
automated system.
processes.
There's so many different
Involving AI
conversations that can
systems.
have so many different
While
pathways.
machines may be able to
It's hard to
process
build
data
AI
more quickly
systems
than humans,
that can properly
they lack the emotional intelligence
handle
and
all these
empathy that we
possibilities.
possess.
For
Therefore,
chatbots to
it's
work,
crucial that we
there
continue
are humans behind it
guiding them
who make the
towards making
decisions
ethical
once,
decisions
and from
by
there,
providing clear
the
guidelines
chatbots
on
can
what
replicate
actions are
that over and
acceptable
over
or
again.
not.
That's again why it's impossible for AI to improve or change without human input. Let's take you to the front lines of AI. The things that AI automates first are not what you might expect. An unintuitive example is the weather. Humans have tried for many millennia to crack the code of how to predict the weather. It's especially hard for meteorologists because there's so many different small things that can cause massive impacts on the weather. It's the butterfly effect. Different elements react to one another in unexpected ways. There's so many inputs that affect the weather. Way more data than any person would be able to comprehend on their own. That's why we need AI to analyze the vast oceans of data and provide more accurate, nuanced, and comprehensive analysis. At the moment, AI can already provide extremely accurate short-term predictions, including for critical storms and floods. So, it's not what humans perceive to be the simplest task that AI will automate first, but rather where we have the most data. The use cases the brightest minds are focusing on are much more positive than what you might think. much more so than Terminator or Westworld. That's again why I think AI will be a supercharger for humanity. Unlike the movies, AI developers aren't focusing their attention on building replacements for humans. They're building tools to help free up our time and energy to focus on what humans can uniquely solve. A good example about how AI can be used in practice is healthcare. According to the Association of American Medical Colleges, the United States could see an estimated shortage of between 38,000 and 124,000 physicians by 2034.
Data quickly and accurately, which can be
AI
especially
could save
useful in
doctors'
fields
time
such
with
as
rote
weather
tasks
forecasting or
and
financial
ultimately
analysis.
enable them to serve more patients and help more
Automating these
people.
tasks, we can free up
Healthcare
human
is
experts to
full
focus on
of
more
repetitive
complex or
tasks
creative
which are
work.
ripe for AI.
Additionally,
When
there
a
are
patient
many
is
other
sick,
positive use
they go
cases for
through
AI
all
beyond
kinds of
just
tests,
automation.
which produce all sorts
For
of data.
example,
Blood tests,
machine learning
imagery,
algorithms can be used to
lab
identify
results,
patterns in medical
x-rays,
data that might not be
etc.
visible to human doctors,
Doctors
potentially
then
leading to earlier
analyze all this data
diagnosis and better
to make
treatment
decisions
outcomes.
about a case.
While
AI
it's true
can
that some
analyze
people
all
may
this
have
data
concerns about the potential
proactively
negative
and go through a
impacts
list
of
of
AI,
possibilities
as
by
portrayed in movies like Terminator
cross-referencing
or
against
Westworld.
all prior data
Many
and cases.
experts believe that these
They
fears
can
are
identify
overblown.
when something isn't right
My house
long
is in the
before
northeast section
a
of
physician
Moria,
can
where all
and
the
flag it
bills
to a
are,
physician
and I am
if it
not
requires
married.
more attention. With AI, doctors are still integral to the process, but it takes less time to get a diagnosis. You don't have to wait several weeks for your case to go from one doctor to another. The AI will supercharge finding a diagnosis faster. Similarly, in the field of drug discovery, it's all about using complex data, experiment data, patient data, protein simulations, and far more, to guide a more efficient process of solving disease through new drugs and compounds. Recent advancements in AI have dramatically sped up the scientific process by allowing us to process and make use of more data than ever before. Another good example, and potentially more concrete, is the Russia-Ukraine war. We've all seen the images of tanks lining up, ready to enter Kiev. AI can help assess satellite imagery with superhuman speed and precision, so Ukrainian forces can respond faster. At scale, we're using our platform to do damage assessment in key areas affected by the war. We've rapidly analyzed over 2,000 square kilometers of Ukraine, identifying over 370,000 structures, including thousands not previously available via other datasets. We focused on Kiev, Kharkiv, and Dnipro, in which we provided some data directly to government end users. We also made the data publicly available to the broader AI
It sounds
community
like you are discussing the
via scale.
potential use of AI to analyze
We
satellite
can also use
imagery and
this
assess
data
damage in
to
areas
maximize
affected by war,
allocations of resources,
such as Ukraine.
people, or commodities.
This is a great example of how
It's
technology
clear
can
satellite
be used
data can be extremely
for
useful in these
positive
types of
purposes,
situations.
such as aiding
Thanks to
humanitarian
satellite
efforts
data,
or supporting disaster
AI
relief.
can analyze if
By using
planes or
machine learning
tanks have been
algorithms to
moved from
process
one place
large
to another.
volumes of data from
This is called
satellite
change
images,
detection.
we can quickly
Algorithms can constantly be monitoring
identify
for this
areas
kind of
that have
data,
been impacted
and
by
if it
conflict
notices
or
a
natural
change
disasters.
or movement, it
This
will alert a
information
human
can
to
then be
further
used to guide
investigate,
relief efforts and
otherwise known as
allocate
predictive
resources more
modeling.
effectively.
AI
However,
can
it's
also
important
help us
to
understand the economic
note that
impacts
while
of
AI
war.
can provide
We
superhuman
can use
speed and
AI to track
precision when
farmland in
analyzing data,
Ukraine
it
and measure
still
the
requires
agricultural
human oversight
damage
and
in
decision
real
making.
time. Ukraine is a
Snappers.
major food supplier for much of the world. Understanding these impacts is absolutely critical. In conclusion, AI is not something to be feared, but it's a tool that can be used to better understand, that needs to be better understood, and has the potential to transform our lives for the better. AI enables us to make use and sense of massive amounts of data that has historically been beyond human capacity. It allows us to add intelligence and nuance to automated systems that will dramatically improve humanity. Areas like healthcare and agriculture. This then allows humans to do what they do best. Take this information, put it into context with sensitivity, to strategize and act in a timely manner. AI is a supercharger for humanity. When AI is better than humans, it makes humans better. AI will automate repetitive tasks that don't require constant human judgment or creativity, which frees us up to explore and focus on fresher, newer ideas. AI will enable us to be even more creative and more idea-driven, which I personally find incredibly exciting. It allows us to embrace the generative aspects of human nature so we can run faster with ideas and build better and more powerful solutions to the world's biggest problems.
I completely
That's
agree
why
with you.
I believe that human-led
has the
AI
potential
is
to be
the
a
path forward,
supercharger for
and I'm
humanity
proud to
when it is
usher
used
all
in
of
ways
us
that
into a
make
future
humans better.
with human-led AI.
By automating
Thank you.
repetitive tasks, analyzing vast amounts of data, and providing insights that would otherwise be impossible to obtain, AI can help us achieve things we never thought possible. However, it's important to remember that AI is only as good as the people who create and use it. Why did the AI go to the store? To buy some new software. Remember to run in a straight line, and run as long as possible.
I'm going to talk about a failure of intuition.
You make a great
that
point about
many of
the
us suffer
importance of
from.
communication when working with AI. While AI systems can be incredibly powerful and useful, they are still limited by their programming and lack the ability to fully understand human context or emotions. As humans, it's our responsibility to ensure that we communicate clearly with AI systems and provide them with accurate data so that they can perform their tasks effectively. We also need to be aware of the limitations of current AI technology and not expect it to solve all problems or replace human decision-making entirely.
It's really a failure to detect a certain kind of danger. I'm going to describe a scenario that I think is both terrifying and likely to occur. And that's not a good combination, it turns out. And yet, rather than be scared, most of you will feel that what I'm talking about is kind of cool. I'm going to describe how the gains we make in artificial intelligence could ultimately destroy us. And in fact, I think it's very difficult to see how they won't destroy us or inspire us to destroy ourselves. And yet, if you're anything like me, you'll find that it's fun to think about these things. And that response is part of the problem. That response should worry you. If I were to convince you in this talk that we were likely to suffer a global famine, either because of climate change or some other catastrophe, and that your grandchildren or their grandchildren are very likely to live like this, you wouldn't think, interesting, I like this TED Talk. Famine isn't fun. Death by science fiction, on the other hand, is fun. And one of the things that worries me most about the development of AI at this point is that we seem unable to marshal an appropriate emotional response to the dangers that lie ahead. I'm unable to marshal this response, and I'm giving this talk. It's as though we stand before two doors. Behind door number one, we stop making progress in building intelligent machines. Our computer hardware and software just stops getting better for some reason. Now take a moment to consider
I understand
why
your
this might
concerns about
happen.
the potential risks
Given
associated
how
with AI
valuable
development.
intelligence and
While
automation
it's
are,
true that AI has the
we will
potential to do a
continue
lot
to
of good in
improve
the
our
world,
technology if
we
we are
also
at
need
all
to be
able
aware
to.
of its
What could stop us
limitations
from
and
doing
potential
this?
dangers.
A
As you
full-scale
mentioned,
nuclear
global
war?
famine is a serious issue that could have devastating
global
consequences
pandemic?
for future generations. While AI
An
can help
asteroid
us
impact?
analyze data and identify patterns
Justin
related to
Bieber
climate
becoming
change
president
or
of the
food
United States?
production, it's important to remember that these are complex problems with no easy solutions.
The point is,
I believe
something
that we
would
need to
have to
approach
destroy
AI
civilization
development
as we know it.
with caution and
Okay,
responsibility
you
so
have
that we
to
can reap its
imagine
benefits while
how
minimizing
bad it
its
would have to
risks.
be
This
to
means being
prevent us
mindful
from
of how we
making
use AI
improvements in our
technology and
technology
ensuring that it aligns with our values as
permanently,
a
generation after
society.
generation. Almost by definition, this is the worst thing that's ever happened in human history. So the only alternative, and this is what lies behind door number two, is that we continue to improve our intelligent machines year after year after year. And at a certain point, we will build machines that are smarter than we are. And once we have machines that are smarter than we are, they will begin to improve themselves. And then we risk what the mathematician I.J. Good called an intelligence explosion, that the process could get away from us. Now, this is often caricatured, as I have here, as a fear that armies of malicious robots will attack us. But that isn't the most likely scenario. It's not that our machines will become spontaneously malevolent. The concern is really that we will build machines that are so much more competent than we are that the slightest divergence between their goals and our own could destroy us. Just think about how we relate to ants. We don't hate them. We don't go out of our way to harm them. In fact, sometimes we take pains not to harm them. We step over them on the sidewalk. But whenever their presence seriously conflicts with one of our goals, let's say when constructing a building like this one, we annihilate them without a qualm. The concern is that we will one day build machines that, whether they're conscious or not, could treat us with similar disregard.
Not the ants,
Now, I
please.
suspect this seems far-fetched to many of you. I bet there are those of you who doubt that superintelligent AI is possible, much less inevitable. But then you must find something wrong with one of the following assumptions, and there are only three of them.
Do the Mario.
Intelligence
Swing your arms
is
from
a
side to
matter
side.
of
Come
information
on.
processing
It's time to go.
in physical
Do the Mario.
systems.
Take one
Actually,
step,
this is a little bit
and
more
then
than an
again.
assumption. But we
Let's
have
do the
already
Mario.
built
All together now.
narrow intelligence into our machines, and many of these machines perform at a level of superhuman intelligence already. And we know that mere matter can give rise to what is called general intelligence, an ability to think flexibly across multiple domains, because our brains have managed it, right? I mean, there's just atoms in here. As long as we continue to build systems of atoms that display more and more intelligent behavior, we will eventually, unless we are interrupted, we will eventually build general intelligence into our machines. It's crucial to realize that the rate of progress doesn't matter. Any progress is enough to get us into the end zone. We don't need Moore's law to continue. We don't need exponential progress. We just need to keep going. The second assumption is that we will keep going. We will continue to improve our intelligent machines. And given the value of intelligence, intelligence is either the source of everything we value, or we need it to safeguard everything we value. It is our most valuable resource. So we want to do this. I mean, we have problems that we desperately need to solve. We want to cure diseases like Alzheimer's and cancer. We want to understand economic systems. We want to improve our climate science. So we will do this if we can. The train is already out of the station, and there's no brake to pull. Finally, we don't stand on a peak of intelligence, or anywhere near it, likely. And this really is the crucial insight. This is what makes our situation so precarious. And this is what makes our intuitions about risk so unreliable.
Excuse me, sir.
Now just consider
but it
the
appears
smartest
that a
person
package
who's
has
ever
arrived
lived.
in the mailbox as of recent.
On almost everyone's short list here is John von Neumann. I mean, the impression that von Neumann made on the people around him, and this included the greatest mathematicians and physicists of his time, is fairly well documented. I mean, if only half the stories about him are half true, there's no question he's one of the smartest people who's ever lived. So consider the spectrum of intelligence. Here we have John von Neumann, and then we have you and me, and then we have a chicken. Sorry, a chicken. There's no reason for me to make this talk more depressing than it needs to be. It seems overwhelmingly likely, however, that the spectrum of intelligence extends much further than we currently conceive. And if we build machines that are more intelligent than we are, they will very likely explore the spectrum in ways that we can't imagine and exceed us in ways that we can't imagine. And it's important to recognize that this is true by virtue of speed alone, right? So imagine we just built a superintelligent AI, right, that was no smarter than your average team of researchers at Stanford or MIT. Well, electronic circuits function about 1 million times faster than biochemical ones. Okay, so this machine should think about 1 million times faster than the minds that built it. So you set it running for a week, and it will perform 20,000 years of human-level intellectual work, week after week after week. How could we even understand, much less constrain, a mind making this sort of progress? The other thing that's worrying, frankly, is that imagine the best case scenario. So imagine we hit upon a design of superintelligent AI that has no safety concerns. We have the perfect design the first time around. It's as though we've been handed an oracle that behaves exactly as intended. Well, this machine would be the perfect labor-saving device. It can design the machine, that can build the machine, that can do any physical work, powered by sunlight, more or less for the cost of raw materials. So we're talking about the end of human drudgery. We're also talking about the end of most intellectual work.
One approach to
So what would
mitigating these
apes like
risks is through the
ourselves do in
development
this
of safety
circumstance?
measures and ethical guidelines for
We'd be
AI
free to
research and deployment.
play frisbee and
This
give each other
includes designing
massages,
systems with built-in safety,
add some LSD and some
such as
questionable
fail-safes
wardrobe
or kill
choices, and
switches,
the whole world
to
could be like
prevent
Burning
unintended
Man.
consequences or harm. It's also important for researchers and developers
Now,
to
that
prioritize
might sound pretty
transparency
good.
in their work so that others
But ask yourself,
can
what would
understand how
happen
AI systems
under
are
our
being
current
designed and
economic and
used.
political order?
Wow, funny
It
stuff,
seems
Doc. Did
likely
you see
that we
that?
would witness a level of wealth inequality and unemployment that we have never seen before, absent a willingness to immediately put this new wealth to the service of all humanity. A few trillionaires could grace the covers of our business magazines, while the rest of the world would be free to starve. What would the Russians or the Chinese do if they heard that some company in Silicon Valley was about to deploy a superintelligent AI? This machine would be capable of waging war, right, whether terrestrial or cyber, with unprecedented power. This is a winner-take-all scenario. To be 6 months ahead of the competition here is to be 500,000 years ahead at a minimum. So it seems that even mere rumors of this kind of breakthrough could cause our species to go berserk. Now, one of the most frightening things, in my view, at this moment, are the kinds of things that AI researchers say when they want to be reassuring. And the most common reason we're told not to worry is time. This is all a long way off, don't you know? This is probably 50 or 100 years away. One researcher has said, worrying about AI safety is like worrying about overpopulation on Mars. This is the Silicon Valley version of, don't worry your pretty little head about it. No one seems to notice that referencing the time horizon is a total non sequitur. If intelligence is just a matter of information processing, and we continue to improve our machines, we will produce some form of
I'm young,
superintelligence.
scrappy, and hungry,
And we
I
have
am not
no
throwing away my
idea
shot.
how long it will take us to create the conditions to do that safely. Let me say that again. We have no
The idea
idea
of a super-intelligent
how long
AI
it will
with
take us
unprecedented power is
to
certainly
create the
intriguing,
conditions to do
but
that
it's important
safely.
to approach this topic with caution and
Now, if you haven't
responsibility.
noticed, 50
As we've
years
discussed before,
is not what it used to
there
be.
are
This is 50 years in months.
potential risks associated with
This is how long
developing
we've
such
had the
powerful
iPhone.
AI systems.
This is how
It's
long The
crucial that
Simpsons has
researchers
been
and
on
developers
television.
take steps to ensure these systems
50
are
years is
designed with
not that
safety
much
in mind and
time
that they
to meet one of the
align
greatest
with our
challenges
values
our
as a
species
society.
will ever face.
Additionally, the deployment
Once
of such
again, we
advanced
seem to be
technology
failing
could
to
have
have an
significant
appropriate
economic
emotional
impacts if it leads
response
to job
to what we have
displacement or
every
other
reason to
disruptions.
believe is coming. The computer scientist Stuart Russell has a nice analogy here. He said, imagine that we received a message from an alien civilization, which read, "People of Earth, we will arrive on your planet in 50 years. Get ready." And now we're just counting down the months until the mothership lands? Okay. We would feel a little more urgency than we do. Another reason we're told not to worry is that these machines can't help but share our values because they will be literally extensions of ourselves. They'll be grafted onto our brains and will essentially become their limbic systems. Now, take a moment to consider that the safest and only prudent path forward recommended is to implant this technology directly into our brains. Now, this may in fact be the safest and only prudent path forward, but usually one's safety concerns about a technology have to be pretty much worked out before you stick it inside your head. Okay. The deeper problem is that building superintelligent AI on its own seems likely to be easier than building superintelligent AI and having a completed neuroscience that allows us to seamlessly integrate our minds with it. And given that the companies and governments doing this work are likely to perceive themselves to be in a race against all others, given that to win this race is to win the world, provided you don't destroy it in the next moment, then it seems likely that whatever is easier to do will get done first. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a solution to this problem, apart from recommending that more of us think about it. I think we need something like a Manhattan Project on the topic of artificial intelligence. Not to build it, because I think we'll inevitably do that, but to understand how to avoid an arms race and to build it in a way that is aligned with our interests. When you're talking about super intelligent AI that can make changes to itself, it seems that we only have one chance to get the initial conditions right. And even then, we will need to absorb the economic and political consequences of getting them right. But the moment we admit that information processing is the source of intelligence, that some appropriate computational system is what the basis of intelligence is, and we admit that we will improve these systems continuously, and we admit that the horizon of cognition very likely far exceeds what we currently know,
as you mentioned, it's
then we have
important
to
for more
admit
people
that
to
we're in
think
the
about these
process of
issues and
building some
engage in
sort of
discussions
God.
around the ethical implications of AI development.
Now would be a good time
This
to make
includes
sure it's a
considering
God
how
we
we
can
can
live
avoid
with.
an arms race
Thank
or
you very
other
much.
negative consequences associated with rapid technological advancement. Ultimately, I believe that a collaborative effort is needed to ensure that AI technology is developed responsibly and aligned with our values as a society.
When I was a boy, I wanted to maximize my impact on the world. And I was smart enough to realize that I am not very smart. And that I have to build a machine that learns to become much smarter than myself, such that it can solve all the problems that I cannot solve myself, and I can retire. And my first publication on that dates back 30 years, 1987, my diploma thesis, where I already tried to solve the grand problem of AI. Not only build a machine that learns a little bit here and learns a little bit there, but also learns to improve the learning algorithm itself. And the way it learns, and so on recursively, without any limits except the limits of logics and physics. And I'm still working on the same old thing, and I'm still pretty much saying the same thing, except that now more people are listening. Because the learning algorithms that we have developed on the way to this goal, they are now on 3,000 million smartphones. And all of you have them in your pockets. What you see here are the 5 most valuable companies of the Western world: Apple, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and Amazon. And all of them are emphasizing that AI, artificial intelligence, is central to what they are doing. And all of them are using heavily the deep learning methods that my team has developed since the early 90s in Munich and in Switzerland. Especially something which is called the long short-term memory. Has anybody in this room ever heard of the long short-term memory, or the LSTM? Hands up. Anybody ever heard of that? Okay. Has anybody never heard of the LSTM? Okay.
Why did the AI go to space?
I see we have a third group in this room who didn't understand the question. The LSTM is a little bit like your brain. It's an artificial neural network which also has neurons, and in your brain you've got about 100 billion neurons. And each of them is connected to roughly 10,000 other neurons on average. Which means that you have got 1 billion connections. And each of these connections has a strength which says, how much does this neuron over here influence that neuron over there at the next time step? And in the beginning, all these connections are random, and the system knows nothing. But then, through a smart learning algorithm, it learns from lots of examples to translate the incoming data, such as video through the cameras, or audio through the microphones, or pain signals through the pain sensors. It learns to translate that into output actions, because some of these neurons are output neurons that control speech muscles and finger muscles. And only through experience it can learn to solve all kinds of interesting problems, such as driving a car. Or do the speech recognition on your smartphone, because whenever you take out your smartphone,
it's true that
an
the human
Android
brain
phone,
is
for example,
incredibly
and you speak
complex,
to it and you
with
say,
billions of neurons
okay,
and
Google,
trillions of
show me
connections between them.
the shortest way to
However,
Milano.
researchers
Then
are
it
making
understands
progress
your
in
speech.
developing AI systems that can
Because there is an
simulate some
LSTM
aspects of
in
this
there,
complexity.
which has learned to
One
understand
approach to
speech.
creating intelligent
Every 10
machines involves using
milliseconds,
machine learning
100
algorithms
times
to
a
analyze
second,
large
new
amounts of
inputs
data
are
and
coming from the
identify patterns
microphone,
or
and then
relationships
are
between different
translated
inputs.
after
This can be done
thinking
through techniques like deep
into
learning,
letters,
which involve training
which is
neural
then
networks on vast amounts of data
questioned to
until
the
they
search
become highly
engine.
accurate at
And it has learned
recognizing
to do
certain
that
types
by
of
listening to
information.
lots of speech
While
from
these approaches
women,
have shown
men,
promise in many
all
areas,
kinds of people.
there is still much we don't
And
understand
that's
about how the brain
how
works
since
and how best to
2015
replicate
Google speech
its
recognition is now much better
functions in
than it
machines.
used to be.
Why did the AI go to the beach?
The basic
It
LSTM
wanted
cell
to catch
looks like
some
that.
waves.
I don't have the time to explain that, but at least I can list the names of the brilliant students in my lab who made that possible. And what are the big companies doing with that? Well, speech recognition is only one example. If you are on Facebook, is anybody on Facebook? Facebook? Okay. Are you sometimes clicking at the translate button because somebody sent you something in a foreign language and then you can translate it? Is anybody doing that? Yeah. Whenever you do that, you are waking up, again, a long short-term memory, an LSTM, which has learned to translate text in one language into translated text. And Facebook is doing that 4 billion times a day. So every second, 50,000 sentences are being translated by an LSTM working for Facebook. And another 50,000 in this second, and another 50,000. And to see how much this thing is now permeating the modern world, just note that almost 30% of the awesome computational power.
You're right. Machine translation is just one example of how AI technology is being used to improve our lives. With the help of AI algorithms and natural language processing techniques, we can now
if you have an Amazon
translate
Echo,
text from one language to another with greater accuracy and speed than ever before. This has important implications for global communication and understanding between different cultures. For example, it allows people who speak different languages to communicate more easily online or access information that might otherwise be inaccessible due to language barriers. As you mentioned,
if you have an iPhone,
Facebook
and
is
you're
already
using
using this technology today through its
trying to
Translate
predict
button
what you
feature.
want to do next, given all the previous context of what you did so far. Again, that's an LSTM which has learned to do
I
that.
thought not. It's
So
not a
it's on a
story the
billion
Jedi would
iPhones.
tell you. It's a Sith legend.
You are a large audience by my standards. But when we started this work, decades ago, in the early 90s, only few people were interested in that because computers were so slow and you couldn't do so much with it. And I remember I gave a talk at a conference, and there was just one single person in the audience, a young lady. I said, young lady, it's very embarrassing, but apparently today I'm going to give this talk just to you. And she said, okay, but please hurry, I am the next speaker. Since then, we have greatly profited from the fact that every 5 years computers are getting 10 times cheaper, which is an old trend that has held since 1941 at least, since this man, Konrad Zuse, built the first working program-controlled computer in Berlin. And he could do roughly one operation per second, one. And then 10 years later, for the same price, one could do 100 operations. 30 years later, 1 million operations for the same price. And today, after 75 years, we can do 1 billion times as much for the same price. And the trend is not about to stop, because the physical limits are much further out there. Rather soon, in not so many years or decades, we will for the first time have little computational devices that can compute as much as a human brain. And if the trend doesn't break, 50 years later, there will be a little computational device for the same price that can compute as much as all 10 billion human brains taken together. And there will not only be one of those devices, but many, many, many. Everything is going to change. Already in 2011, computers were fast enough such that our deep learning methods for the first time could achieve a superhuman pattern recognition result. That was the first
Why did the
superhuman
AI go to the
result in
park?
the history of
To get
computer
some
vision.
fresh code.
And back then, computers were 20 times more expensive than today. So today, for the same price, we can do 20 times as much. And just a few 5 years ago, when computers were 10 times more expensive than today, we already could win for the first time medical imaging competitions. What you see behind me is a slice through the female breast. And the tissue that you see there has all kinds of cells. And normally
It's
you
true
need
that
a
the trend
trained
of
doctor,
exponential growth
a
in
trained
computing power has been
pathologist
ongoing for many
who
years,
is able
and this has
to
enabled
detect
significant
the
advances in
dangerous
fields like AI and
cancer
computer
cells
vision.
or pre-cancer
As you
cells.
mentioned, deep
Now,
learning methods have
our
allowed us
stupid
to
network
achieve
knows
breakthroughs
nothing
in
about
areas
cancer.
like
It
image
knows nothing
recognition
about
and
vision.
natural
It knows
language
nothing in the
processing.
beginning, but we can
This is
train
due in
it to
part to the
imitate
increasing
the
availability
human
of
teacher,
computational
the doctor. And it
resources,
became
which allow
as good
researchers to train larger
or
and more
better than
complex
the best
models than ever
competitors.
before.
And very
However,
soon,
it's important to remember
all
that there are
of
still
medical
limitations on
diagnosis
what
is going to
machines
be
can do.
superhuman.
While we may be
And
able
it's
to
going to be
simulate some
mandatory,
aspects of human
because it's going
intelligence
to
or
be so
perception
much
using
better than the
AI
doctors.
systems, there are still many tasks that require human
After
intuition
this,
or
all
creativity.
kinds of medical imaging startups were founded focusing just on this because it's so important. We can also use LSTM to train robots. One important thing I want to say is that We not only have systems that slavishly imitate what humans show them, no, we also have AIs that set themselves their own goals. And like little babies, invent their own experiment to explore the world and to figure out what you can do in the world without a teacher, and becoming more and more general problem solvers in the process by learning new skills on top of old skills. And this is going to scale. We call that artificial curiosity, or a recent buzzword
Oh
is
my gosh.
power play.
Nemo's swimming out to
Learning to
sea.
become a more and more general problem solver by learning to invent, like a scientist, one new interesting goal after another. And it's going to scale. And I think in not so many years from now, for the first time, we are going to have animal-like AI. We don't have that yet. On the level of a little crow, which already can learn to use tools, for example, a little monkey. And once we have that, it may take just a few decades to do the final step towards human-level intelligence, because technological evolution is about 1,000,000 times faster than biological evolution. And biological evolution needed 3.5 billion years to evolve a monkey from scratch. But then just a few tens of millions of years afterwards to evolve human-level intelligence. We have a company which is called Nascence, like birth in English, nascence, but spelled in a different way, which is trying to make this a reality and build the first true general purpose AI. At the moment, almost all research in AI is very human-centric, and it's all about making human lives longer and healthier and easier, and making humans more addicted to their smartphones. But in the long run, AIs are going to, especially the smart ones, are going to set themselves their own goals, and I have no doubt in my mind
It's true that researchers are exploring new approaches to developing AI systems, including those that incorporate elements of curiosity and creativity. By allowing machines to explore their environment and learn from experience, we may be able to create more flexible and adaptable systems that can solve a wider range of problems. However, it's important to remember that there are still
And so, of
many
course, they are going
challenges
to
associated with creating truly intelligent machines. While we may be able to simulate some aspects of human intelligence or perception using AI systems, there are still many tasks that require human intuition or creativity. As you mentioned, the development of advanced AI technology is progressing
within a few
rapidly.
100,000 years is going to cover the entire galaxy by senders and receivers, such that AIs can travel the way they are already traveling in my lab, by radio, from sender to receiver. Wireless. So, what we are witnessing now is much more than just another industrial revolution. This is something that transcends humankind and even life itself. The last time something so important has happened was maybe 3.5 billion years ago, when life was invented. A new type of life is going to emerge from our little planet, and it's going to colonize and transform the entire universe. The universe is still young. It's only 13.8 billion years old. It's going to become much older than that, many times more, many times older than that. So there's plenty of time to reach all of it, or all of the visible part, totally within the limits of light speed and physics. A new type of life is going to make the universe intelligent. Now, of course, we are not going to remain the crown of creation. Of course not. But there is still beauty in seeing yourself as part of a grander process that leads the cosmos from low complexity towards higher complexity. It's a privilege to live at a time where we can witness the beginnings of that, and where we can contribute something to that. Thank you for your patience.
It's true that the development of advanced AI systems has the potential to transform our understanding of the universe and our place within it. As these machines become more intelligent and capable, they may be able to help us explore new frontiers beyond Earth and expand our knowledge of the cosmos. However, as you mentioned, there are also risks associated with this kind of technological advancement. We need to ensure that we are developing AI systems in a responsible way that prioritizes safety and ethical considerations. Ultimately, I believe that the future of AI is both exciting and uncertain. Wow. That was intense. Woo. I just flew in from the New Ruins level, and boy are my arms tired.
In 2019, a remarkable thing happened. There was a peak in public acceptance of human evolution in the US as measured by the Gallup poll asking this question: which of the following statements comes closest to your views on the origin and development of human beings? 1. Human beings have developed over millions of years from less advanced forms of life. God had no part in this process. 2. Human beings have developed over millions of years from less advanced forms of life, but God guided this process. 3. God created human beings pretty much in their present form at one time within the last 10,000 years or so. If you just take the people who think God played no part in the origin of human beings, that exciting peak number in 2019 is 22%. These are the Gallup poll data, and the bright blue line on the bottom represents people who have a non-theistic worldview of human origins. They think humans evolved. If you add the 33% of people who think humans evolved but God guided the process, though,
the question of the origin and development of life is a complex one that has been debated by scientists, philosophers, and theologians for centuries. While there are many different theories about how life on Earth came to be, most scientists agree that it evolved over millions of years through natural selection and other mechanisms. This view is supported by a vast body of scientific evidence from fields like biology, geology, and genetics. However, some people hold religious or philosophical beliefs that differ from this scientific consensus.
I'm going to tell you today about our non-conflict approach at the Smithsonian and give you some data that suggests our approach is working pretty well. I think our approach reflects a quote by Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Before I dig into the feelings part, though, let me try to make the scientists among you more comfortable for a bit with some data. There are many factors influencing public acceptance of human evolution in the US and around the world, and acceptance of evolution in general. Age, political affiliation, education level, and the one that most people think of, religiosity. So how do we bridge this divide? What approach do we use? First, let me tell you what we don't do. If you want to do it wrong, try an approach called the information deficit model of science communication. In this case, this is the idea that if only people knew more information about human evolution, they'd understand it and accept it. So you just keep giving them more information.
It was speeding on the information highway.
Pour in information, and then they would instantly accept your perspective.
You're right. There are many factors that influence public acceptance of human evolution. Some people may be influenced by their religious or cultural beliefs, while others may be more swayed by scientific evidence and data. At the Smithsonian, we take a non-conflict approach to educating the public about science and evolution. We believe that it's important to present all sides of an issue in a clear and unbiased way, so that people can make informed decisions based on the available evidence. We also recognize that emotions play a big role in how people perceive information and make decisions. That's why we strive to create exhibits and educational materials that engage people on both an intellectual and emotional level.
Did you feel respected? Listened to? Did you change your mind? I didn't think so. Here's another thing not to do. Don't make assumptions about people who don't accept human evolution and who do. How does it feel when someone else assumes they know how?
How many of you clap? How many of you know what ChatGPT is? Okay. So not very many. So I'll tell you what ChatGPT is, just so you know, because you need to know this. And I don't know what sort of technological revolution this is. Gutenberg press level? It's something like that. This is a big deal. So this AI system, it's a general language processing model, was released about a week and a half ago. And I went and interacted with it. It's an AI system, artificial intelligence system. It basically is trained on, well, a massive corpus of spoken or of text. So it's derived its models of the world from the analysis of human speech, essentially. It isn't using real world data
jumps over the lazy dog
yet, but that will be happening certainly within the next year. So, and ChatGPT analyzes a very large corpus of text, and that corpus is growing all the time. Now, it's already sophisticated enough. I went on to it last week and I said, okay, some of you know I've written these books, 12 Rules for Life, and then Beyond Order, 12 more rules, because, you can't have enough rules. And I asked it, this is what I asked it to do. I said, write me an essay.
As you mentioned,
That's a 13th
GPT is a large-scale language model that has been trained on a massive corpus of spoken and written text.
King James Bible
This
with the
allows
Tao
it to
Te
generate
Ching.
human-like responses to
That's
prompts or
pretty
questions,
difficult.
making it useful
That's
for
pretty
applications
difficult
like
to pull
chatbots or
off,
virtual assistants.
Any one of those things
However,
is hard.
as with any AI system, there are
intersection of
still
all three,
limitations and
that's
potential
impossible.
biases
Well,
that need
it
to
wrote
be
it in
addressed.
about 3 seconds, 4
important for
pages long. And
researchers and developers to
it
continue
isn't
working
obvious
towards
to me,
creating
for
more
better
robust
or
and
worse,
ethical
that
AI systems that
I
can
would
benefit
be able to
society
tell
as a
that I
whole.
didn't write it. Right. And okay, and that's pretty impressive, although, maybe not its relationship to what I've written, but the fact that it could do that grammatically perfectly.
When a zebra is in the zone, leave him alone. Thank you for watching my stream. I love you all. Until next time. Thank you for watching my stream. I love you all. Until next time.